So now we're learning the Dvar Malchut, the royal words of the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, that he spoke in Tafshin Nun Beit, which is right at the end of 1991. And, and he pointed out a very interesting fact, that the Jewish people were born outside of Israel, not just outside of Israel, but in the worst place of the world. Abraham was promised the land of Israel. He moved to the land of Israel, and he lived in the land of Israel, and he gave birth to Yitzchak. Yitzchak never left Israel. Abraham left, and once in a while he left. Occasionally he left. But Yitzchak never left Israel. Israel is a holy place. Israel is the holy land. It's the land promised to the Jewish people. It's the land where the holy temple is going to be, where all the Jews are going to be gathered. That's the place of the Jews, is the land of Israel. But amazingly, Jacob was told to leave Israel. He left Israel and he went to the worst place in the world, Haran, and there he gave birth to the Jewish people. He worked for Lavan, was a big cheater, a disgusting person, Lavan, and he worked there, and that's where he gave birth to the 12 tribes. I mean, actually 11 of the 12 tribes, but same thing. Because Joseph was born later on, a little bit later on. Okay, but he gave birth to all the tribes over there, and that's where he became. That was Bnei Israel. Bnei Israel, they were in the house of Lavan, terrible. And then afterwards, he didn't go back home. He went to meet with Esav, and Esav wanted to kill him. He's been looking for him, to try to kill him for like tens of years, and he went back to Esav. So all these stories, they're not really properly fit for, I mean, where's God in the picture? What happened? I thought God is supposed to help the Jews. He's supposed to give us these amazing miracles and victories and successes, huh? And just, to conquer and to win and to be the top of the world, the Jewish people. No, it's just the opposite. And the day Jacob goes and he gets tricked by Laban for 20 years and he has to work for the sheep. Troubles right and left all over the place. He's crying to God, please, God, help me. I should only come back to home and play. Katonti, I am small. That's going to be next week. I'm small from all the kindness you've given me. I don't deserve anything. So it says, why is it that he said even more when he left, he said that he had to make these stones around, he said, to protect him from the wild animals. He was walking and there was wild animals, all sorts of crazy dangers that Yaakov was surrounded by. I mean, listen, if you think about it, that's the history of Judaism. Judaism was born in Egypt. We didn't do anything that deserved to be in Egypt. We're in exile. Terrible suffering that there was in Egypt. Terrible. We didn't do anything wrong. We were born there in Egypt. Why did God do such things? Why does he have to do that? You read the Psalms of King David. King David was like the ultimate Jew. King David was the Messiah. He was the Moshiach. We're waiting for Moshiach ben David. But he was the Moshiach. Look in the Tehillim, you'll see what Moshiach did. What Moshiach was only suffering, crying to God, please help me. My enemies are so bad. I can't sleep at night. I can't eat all day. I have to run around. I'm miserable. Please help me, God, help me, God. That's the Moshiach. What's going on over here? That's King David. That's what we're supposed to be. And the same thing with Moses. Everybody was against him. Everybody hated him. What'd you take us out of Egypt for? You're our enemy. We hate you. Why? Why all these troubles? Why did Jacob have to go into Haran to give birth to the Jewish people? Why? And so, good question. Let's see. Yuvan, we can understand the question. Al-Masha Masupra, that what it says. Asher v'yivka b'makom. It says that Jacob, when he left his Israel, as it says, that he laid down in this place. He laid down. The Chaora at first glance, how could it possibly be that in this place, which is the place where he laid down, this is as he was leaving. This is as he was leaving. He lay down in the place where the holy temple is going to be. Shachav Yaakov laid down lishon to sleep. Even though sheshaka lo achama pitom, that the sun set suddenly, shaloba onato, not in its proper time, in order that he would go to sleep. But still, how could you go to sleep? Yaakov, that's the first thing he did, went to sleep. And he went to sleep in the holy temple. It says the place where the holy temple is. Hari Omer Chazal, the rabbis say, Alamilas, Vayishka b'makamahu, it said that he went to sleep. There he went to sleep. Kan Shechav, over there he went to sleep. I will call Yud Beishan about the 14 years that he was learning Torah in the house of Aver. It says Shem Aver, they had a place where they learned. He didn't go to sleep. He was learning the Torah. And it says another place also, here he went to sleep, but the whole 20 years that he was going to be in the house of love, and he didn't lay down to sleep. 20 years. Of all the places Yaakov chose to go to sleep, he went to the place where the holy temple is, and he went to sleep over here. Why did he go to sleep in the holy temple? You figure you come to the temple, this is where he should be praying, he should be really active. And this is understood that when he laid down to sleep was a good thing. Exactly the opposite. This is the best thing. This was revealed, and this goodness can only be revealed in the place of the holy temple. What's so good about going to sleep? Okay, it wasn't like we go to sleep. It was like Yaakov went to sleep. What was the good thing about Yaakov going to sleep? You can say the explanation is like this. I have the difference physically between amida v'yeshiva, between sitting and standing and sleep, standing and sitting and laying down is eight amida, when a person is standing up, and even when a person sits down, truly you sit down, you come a little bit lower. When a person is sitting down, nikar begila, you can see clearly there's a difference between your head and your feet. There's a difference between the chilek elyon, your head, and your body of a person, and the feet. Chezeo elyon, you can see clearly that the higher part of your body conducts the lower part. When a person lays down, and especially when he's asleep, then the upper part of his body and the lower part of his body, they are equal, the same. What's good about that? The ruch is spiritually, achilak elyon, the upper part of a man, mesamal, is tochna umahuta ruchnut. His personality, his accomplishments, his achievements, his nature, spiritual. His natural is spiritual nature, his accomplishments, his personality, his values, his decisions. That's the head. On the lower part, this is mainly the physical world, how the world affects him. Moving, so it's understood, even though it's simply in a revealed way, when a person lays down, it means that the world is dominant. Kishamayla ruchnit, that the upper part of his body, the spiritual part, his brain, his heart, is equal to the feet. This is a tremendous descent. You make your head like your feet, means that the world conquered you. You're just like dirt. But Harishorisha Panimius Inyan, the source and the insight internally. In other words, the real true fact is Yesh B'Za'ilu Gadol B'Yoter. There's a tremendous excellence in having the feet and the head equal. Spiritually, it's a really, really, really good thing. Why? Because only in this Hamayla, that the highest part of your being, Yachad Imamata, and the lowest part, Bashva Gamora, they are equal. Shezeh mitzad gilui atzmuto. This is from the essence, revelation of the essence of God. Who says your head thinks and your feet only walk? But if, God forbid, a person is given a choice, I'm sorry, sir, you are very sick. You have to take a choice. Either we have to remove your foot or to remove your head. Which would you rather? So a person would say, am I hearing correctly? I mean, are you serious? Are you really serious? The doctor says, no, I'm really serious. But you have to decide quickly because I've got other things to do. Which says, well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to remove either one of them. Says, okay, you know what? Let's make it like this: either your toe or your brain. Which would you rather that we remove? So, well, that's a stupid question. I mean, obviously, I mean, if it's a life-saving thing, then my toe. What's the question? Says, okay, good. So that's what it is. But I just want to ask you a question. Says the doctor, who says that your toe is better than your brain? So what do you mean, who says that? Everybody says. Says, where'd you get your brain from? I mean, I got it from, I guess, my mother, my father. Yeah, really, really. Your mother created your brain? The womb inside of your mother's thing. What determines what's going to be your brain? What that is? Nature determines. Okay, good. That's what you can say. Okay, so I'll take your toe off. But maybe it's God that determines it. And maybe it's God determining it right now. Maybe all of a sudden God can say, you know what? I'm going to make this person's brain into his toe, and I'm going to make his toe into his brain. You're going to start thinking from your toe. Could God do a thing like that? Yes, certainly you could. So really, everything you have is an amazing gift and a miracle from God. The fact that your brain thinks, that's a big miracle. The fact that your toe does not think, that's also a miracle. If God wanted to change, really, if you look at it from the essence of God, then everything is exactly equal. Because God is higher than any sort of definition of up or down. Both of them are totally equal. Regarding God, your toe and your brain is exactly the same. They're both creations. God is creating them miraculously. It's known that the simplicity of a simple person, that by him, he hasn't got, let's say, a very low IQ. This is connected to the simplicity of the essence of God. Professor Viktor Frankl, I'm a very big fan of his. He had this, he was a big psychiatrist, and he had a big center in Vienna, Austria, hundreds of patients. And he says sometimes the simple people, from a person who is, what do they call it, an idiot. And that's, I know it's not a scientific term, but a person that's a total idiot, he has an IQ of like, zero. Sometimes they can say words of truth and purity and innocence that you don't hear from anywhere else. You just don't. They're a source of just love and light. Just a look from one of these people, can just melt your heart. Pshita tatzmut. Which is not the case of an intelligent person. An intelligent person, he impresses you with his intelligence, but not with his humanness. Unless this great person acts simple. So it says the simplicity of a person, that comes from the essence of God. Dvar zeh, this is drawn down afterwards, when it is revealed afterwards. Gam kasher hu kam mitaso. So therefore, if a person treats his brain and his toe as both being amazing miracles of God, and nothing can be taken for granted in relation to God, that each one of them is an amazing gift. Then when a person wakes up from his sleep and stands up, Shagam Sham, that also there, in a place where he feels that my head is now higher than my feet, this is high and this is low, is drawn down and revealed God's essence. You use your brain only for what God wants. The same way you can easily use your toe for what God wants. Not so difficult. To use your brain is a little more difficult. Okay, so it's more difficult. But they're both gifts from God. Azai then, mitbateh is, then the difference between the top and the bottom is only betzir shalem. My brain is found on the top and my toe is found on the bottom. So true, there's a big difference. But mahutam, but their essence is really just one thing. It's a revelation of God's essence. And so it is with everything in the world, right? A rock is the same thing as a person. A person is the same thing as an animal. They're exactly the same, but you just have to treat them differently. Why do you treat them differently? Because look in the Torah, God says how you should treat them. But you're doing it because of what God says, not because of what you think. Okay, this is not an easy thing to do, but on the other hand, it is an easy thing to do. A person without the Torah, so somebody else's money and my money, it's the same thing. Who says I can't? This guy's money is not my money. That's basically what communism is, right? Communism is everybody's equal. Your money is my money is your money. Was it? Right? Everything is equal. The Torah says, no, you're right. Everything is equal, right? But his money is his money and your money is your money because that's what the Torah says. But it's really equal. It's really exactly the same thing. But because it's equal, it shouldn't make any difference to you. So therefore, if you want to take the other person's money, then all of a sudden, oh, it does make a difference to you. So it shines, it's a sign that everything is not equal. And that's what the Rebbe says, laying down, Yaakov laid down to show Kolomar. In other words, that the job of a Jew, when he goes out from Be'er Sheva, when he goes out from being holy, and he goes to Haran, he goes to be in the world, right? He goes into his business. There are two things. First of all, in addition to the the dominance of God, spiritual on the physical world, but often in a way that the physical world does not conceal spiritual, but the physical world becomes a vessel for the spiritual. As then the Gashmis, the physical world, as it is in its state. In other words, you have a business, you become a good businessman, and your product has to be the best, and the customer is always right, and you have to be clean, and you have to be honest, and it has to be on time, and you have to do all the physical things that are demanded from a businessman. You do it. But at the same time, the Merota call, Helen Vehester, the world conceals over godliness. It's like two different things. But then that's a good way to serve God, but it's certainly not the best. You serve God, this spiritual overpowers the physical. But then there's a better way, and that is that the physical and the spiritual are one. The physical and the spiritual are one. They're both, you're not doing it because the spiritual, your sense of spirituality and religion and Judaism tells you to do this, but you're doing it because of God. God is the creator of the spiritual and the physical. Then it's not like the spiritual is important, but the world is not so important. But in order to get money into this, so I'll let the spiritual dominate. That's so good. That's good. But the best way is that both the spiritual and the physical are of equal importance to God. And therefore, I'm going to do with the world what God says, not just what I feel spiritually obligated or motivated to do. And then the essence of God, then, which is higher than both of them. That's what Yaakov wanted to accomplish, that Judaism wouldn't only be in the category of religion. Of course, it's a religion, but it wouldn't only be in the category of religion. That Judaism is the expression of the Creator in his creation. And the Creator creates the spiritual and the physical, and everything is equal by him. How to use it, the spiritual and the physical, that's what the Torah tells us. But it's only because God says, not because I feel. According to this, two of them will be understood. And Hagas, Yaakov, the conduct of Jacob. I'm just reading now this book. Where's the book? Here it is. Here. See, this book, very good book. It's called the Tzemach Tzedek and the Haskalah Movement. Haskalah Movement. This is about 150 years ago. I mean, this was what morphed into what nowadays is called, I guess, what's it called? The Reform Movement and Conservative Movement. I guess more the Reform Movement. and their thing is come on, there's a world. Come on, we have to adjust to the world. We have to be normal people. We have to be right. We have to be practical, be normal. We have to learn from the non-Jews how to be normal. And as a result of that, they wanted to change the Torah just a little bit and change the commandments, not so much. And to learn as much as possible from the wisdom of who knows who was back there. I don't remember the philosophers that were there, but to learn from the philosophies of who knows what was it? I don't remember anymore. Anyway, the big for Plato and these other people, we learn from the wisdom of the non-Jews as well to incorporate that. That is very important to us. And the Tzemach Tzedek, he was the first Rebbe he was the third Rebbe of Chabad. He said, we're not dealing with Judaism. You're dealing with God. And God cannot be changed. You want to change a religion, you can change a religion. But Judaism is not just a religion. Judaism is God. The creator of the universe revealed his will, his wisdom, his goodness, his desire in the Torah. You can't change it. It's like taking a person and saying, let's take people's eyes and put them into where their ears are. And their ears, you can't do that. Like ears, because they stick out. So let's cut off everybody's ears. Right? What do you need it for? You can't do that. But it's more it's insane to do that with a human being, to change around a person's limbs or eyes because you don't like the way they look. But it's more insane to do it with the Torah. And that's what Yaakov did, that the physical and the spiritual are both equal because they are expressions of the creator of God. And the Torah tells us what to do with it. What God is the Torah. God is telling us what to do. Everything is equal. But equally good. Not equally meaningless. God is creating it. I hope he said, according to this, Tuvan, we can understand. And I guess what Yaakov did, when he laid down. Shekain Adarabah did exactly the opposite. Davka Mitzad said, only specifically because of this, that this was a place of the holy temple. That's where Jacob laid down. This is before he left Israel. Asher Sham, that there, Tachlit V'Shleimotam, Shachat, there's the ultimate revelation of godliness, Ad Gilei Asmos, until the revelation of God's essence in the holy temple, and especially in the Holy of Holies. Shabo, that in it was the ark with the place with the tablets in it. And that place, it says, was not measurable. You couldn't measure. The ark was like 2.5 amas big, long, and the room was 10 amas wide. So you'd figure on each side that the ark took up 2.5 amas in the middle, right? And the room was 10 amas wide. So you figure that there must be a space that took up 2.5 amas from 10. What's left over is 7.5 empty amas, right? 7.5 empty amas. So you measure from one side to the wall, it should be half of 7.5, and the other 7. When you measured from one end of the ark to the wall, it was 5 amas. When you measured the other at the end, it was 5 amas. So it ended up that the ark didn't take up any place. How could it be? The whole room was 10 amas wide, and the ark, it has to be an exact measurement. 2.5 amas. If it's not 2.5, then it's disqualified. So it had to take 2.5 amas up, but when you measured it, it didn't take up any space. From one end to the wall was 5 amas, from the other end to 5. How could it be? So the answer is it was there, but it was there only on God's terms. And God said that he didn't want it to take up any space. But it was there. Yes, God said it has to be there, but it didn't take up any space. God said that too. How can it possibly be? Because that's the way all creation is. The creation only takes up space because God wants it to. And if God doesn't want it to, so then it won't. And Jacob, he brought this, a Dvar. So therefore, Jacob, when he reached this place where spiritual and physical are exactly the same, it's all pure godliness. So he laid down on that place. He unified the lowest part, his feet, with his head by means of the revelation of God's essence. And this, by means of this, he made it possible for every Jew to do so. And when the Jews do so, it became possible for every human being to do so. That's only going to be in the days of the Moshiach. So the heavens and the earth are exactly opposite for God. For God. But if you look in the Torah, you see that the most important thing to God is the earth. That's to God. The most important thing is this physical world. That's why this says in the sentence immediately by Yachalom that he made a dream. And there was a ladder standing on the ground. It doesn't say it was standing on the ground. It said he was standing toward the ground. A ladder going down. But Roshu on the top is going toward the heavens. Behold, Malachi Elohim, it says that their angels of God were going up and coming down. They were going up first and coming down. Usually angels start up in heaven, right? And they come down first. But Jacob's ladder, the angels went up first. We'll see why. And it says that God was standing over on the top of it. Namely what? A ladder went from below to above, from above to below. There was below and above. But God was standing on the top of it. He united the whole entire business. He united the earth and the heavens. Arts are going down to the lowest land. And the earth, the most physical and the most spiritual, God united the whole business by means of his essence. Therefore, Derech Memela, automatically there were angels there. The angels could start wherever God wanted. Yesh Lomar, we can also say, Yesh Lomar, we can also say, Shazeo, this is also the explanation, the inner explanation of what was going on when it says that Yaakov woke up from his dream. And then Jacob said, Vayomer Achen, but Yesh Hashem b'makoma here, God certainly is in this place. And I did not know. Now, simply meaning it means I didn't know beforehand. I didn't know God was holy. What does it mean? I don't. It's here. It says I know lo yadati. It seems to me implicate that I don't know even now. Shegilui havaya, that the revelation of God, the name of God's essence, this is above any sort of knowledge. Can't even say yediyah, because knowledge, awareness, consciousness, this is in the level of the higher part of man. Elevating your consciousness. Consciousness is a creation of God that is very high. And Jacob was above high and low. Jacob was revealed the essence of high and low. Knowledge, Hari Kashur, this is intellect, which is in the head. Shinikeret, that is revealed in the time when a person is sitting or standing, which is not the case with Tzad Atzmos, but by God's essence. So standing and laying down, feet and brains are exactly the same thing. So the same thing as his toes cannot understand what God is. His brain also could not understand what God is. That's why he said, I don't know. The year of Yomar, that's what he said. And he became afraid and he said, Man Nora, how awesome is this place? Ein Zakim Beit Elokim. This is only the house of God. Buy it a house, v'dira, and a dwelling for God. How can God live in a house? So the answer is, how can God exist at all? God creates the whole world. God can do whatever he wants to. Even more, we said that God favors this physical world. So that God is in the spiritual world. No, that's where God is supposed to be, is in the spiritual world. God is spiritual, right? It says, no, God is not spiritual. God creates the spiritual. God creates the spiritual. And therefore, and God creates the spiritual as well as the physical. They're both equal by God. So if it's possible in your mind that God could live in the spiritual world, how much more so it should be that God could live in the physical world? Because this is where God intends. This is where God's essence is. Calls all this brought afterwards, after Jacob made the pillar, this monument. We talked about that in Torah Or, but we're going to talk about that later, tomorrow. This brought Yaakov, he said, to make a vow. What was the vow? Kol asher titen li, everything that you give to me, God, aser esren Allah, I'll give 1/10 to you. That's what Jacob said. 1/10 of everything you give me, I'm going to give to you, God. Seems a little bit strange. I mean, Jacob could have said, now I reveal everything comes from you, God. So everything you give to me, I'll give back to you. I'm going to give you only a tenth. Says the Rebbe, will explain it. Ali de Gilead was when the essence of God is revealed, Nizkala is revealed, Kol asher titen li, that everything that exists you have given to me. Everything I have is a gift from you. Gashmi is the physical and the spiritual. It's all just a big gift. It's all in a way of what's called 1/10. Aser Asrenim. What is 1/10? Keter. The crown. There are 10 sfirot of God. God's called the 10 sfirot. We talked about this. So there's different ways of counting the 10 sfirot. Sometimes you count dot as one of them, and sometimes Chachma Bina dot, that's Chabad dot. But sometimes you don't count dot, you count keter. So that's what it means. The 10th is yours, keter. It's a crown. Even more, lach, the keter, the crown of all creation is you, even more. It is you, it is yourself, your essence. Kavan Shakalam, it's you, since that everything that exists that you have given to me is only just a revelation of your essence, God. That's the number 10, higher than all being. Al-Pianal, according to what we said before, now we can understand what it means that Jacob took from the stones of the place and he put them under his head and he laid down on that place by means of putting these stones around his head. The rabbis say, Asam Kamo Marzav, he made it like sort of a wall around his head because he was afraid of the wild animals. And it says then the stones began to fight with one another. Zotemeret, one says, I want to be under the head of Jacob, of this tzaddik. I want Jacob to put his head on me. One said, no, I want to. So I want that I should be there. What happened? God made all the stones into one stone. Even though at a first glance it doesn't make any difference. Let's start off from the beginning. The whole thing makes no sense. Jacob took the stones and he put them around his head to protect him from the animals. Then the stones argued one another. Each one wanted to be under Jacob's head. And God made a miracle that they all became one stone. So the whole thing makes no sense, right? But let's see what's going on. First of all, let's start off. What does it mean that Jacob put stones around his head to protect him from the wild animals? The wild animals could take the rest of his body. Masbira explains, the explainers of the Torah, Sha'amna, it's true that Rashi, Yaakov, that what Rashi said, that he put the stones around his head. That's what it says in the Torah, that he put them around his head. Of course, it means that Yaakov put the stones around his whole body. Therefore, Dayak says, but Marzev, he made a wall. A wall is a big wall all the way around. It enclosed him. Shazel, that's like a tzinor katan, sheyetze min mechila lo shayach marzev, ela kesheyesh sham mazchila. It has to be that it's surrounded totally. He was totally surrounded. It's a marzev. He was surrounded. And so he didn't just surround his head. He surrounded his whole body. Why does it say in the Torah that he put it around his head? Madua Madgish, why does the sentence say that he put it around his head? It said because, number 2, it says, how can this save animals by means of making a wall? That the animals can just jump over the wall. Doesn't make any sense. What's the answer? The answer of this is going to be tomorrow. It says the answer is according to Chassidut. That Yaakov took the stones. This is a spiritual thing. He drew down from into the physical world a level of God which surrounds everything. This is the idea of the stones, tokef, power. It was revealed that the physical world is really from God. Then there's no concealment of the physical in the world. Therefore, the animals, which are only physical things, they cannot possibly damage Yaakov, as we're going to talk about more, God willing. We said before, the stones represent the whole entire physical world. When he used the physical world for what he wanted to, then the world cannot endanger him. tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock, and we'll see. Let's stop here. Let's do the Yom Yom. 1 minute.